Este clip que vas a ver es muy importante para entender el contexto de todo el video, así que por favor presta la atención. Ese video del primer ministro Carney de Canadá siempre me impacta. Ahora sí, Canadá está muy enojado con Estados Unidos y más que todo con el régimen de Donald Trump, pero han decidido pasar la página. Aquí está el primer ministro Mark Carney saliendo a correr. Creo que todo esto es una forma de molestia para Donald Trump. Y tienes a personas como el primer ministro de Ontario, Doug Ford, diciendo que no se van a disculpar por el anuncio en el que utilizaron a Ronald Reagan, criticando a Donald Trump por los aranceles que le puso a Canadá. Sino que además, en vez de extender la disculpa que le están pidiendo que tenga, está pidiendo que Donald Trump se disculpe con ellos. Y es más, no solo no se va a disculpar, está pidiendo que Estados Unidos se disculpe con ellos. Él dice: quiero que el embajador estadounidense Pete Dora se disculpe con los políticos de aquí en Ontario. Y en otros lugares también por gritarnos. Todo esto porque usamos palabras literalmente de Ronald Reagan. Palabras sin editar, sin mover de ninguna forma. Textualmente palabras de Ronald Reagan. Así que aquí tienes al primer ministro de Ontario, Doug Ford, diciéndole al embajador de Estados Unidos: será mejor que te disculpes ahora mismo y entierres el hacha. Al parecer, ahora el embajador de Estados Unidos en Canadá fue visto en una acalorada discusión con David Peterson, el representante comercial de Ontario, en un evento del Consejo Empresarial Canadá-Estados Unidos en Ottawa el lunes. Y Ford le dijo: ¿por qué te comportas así? ¿Por qué te comportas como un payaso? Y esto es algo muy común por lo que se lo conoce a este embajador estadounidense en Canadá, por siempre hacer el ridículo. Pero Canadá se mantiene sereno y firme. Tranquilo, sereno y firme. El primer ministro Carney se reúne con Xi Jinping. Yo creo que esta será una reunión de respeto mutuo, a diferencia de la reunión de Donald Trump con Xi Jinping, cual de verdad parece que le disgusta la presencia de Donald Trump. Y ni cómo juzgarlo, la verdad. Dice que Xi Jinping se reunirá hoy con el primer ministro Mark Carney. Uno de los temas principales es que Canadá eliminaría sus aranceles y barreras comerciales del 100% contra los vehículos eléctricos chinos como BYD, a cambio de que China elimine algunas barreras contra Canadá. Ya hemos escuchado bastantes rumores sobre que Mark Carney está mirando a Canadá como un gran socio comercial. Es más, es muy seguro que China actualmente sea un socio comercial más confiable que Estados Unidos, sin lugar a dudas. Y China mira hacia el resto del mundo con tal de alejar sus exportaciones y sus negocios de Estados Unidos. Se está enfocando en desarrollar sus relaciones con Europa, en fortalecer sus vínculos con Australia y también con gran énfasis en la región de Asia. Por eso esta conferencia de AXEA ha sido muy importante para el primer ministro Mark Carney. Quiero que vean este clip de Doug Ford, por favor. Miren.
And we've seen, the employment numbers, that manufacturing jobs down in the U.S. have dropped month after month, total 78,000 jobs for 5 consecutive months. That's what tariffs do. They hurt the American people. And all you have to do is look on clips from Ronald Reagan over and over and over again. I've seen more Ronald Reagan clips than you could shake a stick at. He was a free trader. I had a mentor named Brian Mulroney I talked to frequently. I've had conversations with Caroline, his daughter, that is our president of the Treasury. And I'll tell you one thing, President Reagan was anything but loving tariffs, as Donald Trump said. He loved tariffs. He hated tariffs, by the way. And all you have to do is look at the clips. When you see the Reagan Republicans standing up for non-tariffs against the MAGA group, there's a split now in the Republican Party. And when Democrats, Reagan Democrats are standing up, there's a split. So, the best ad that ever ran.
Aquí tenemos otro clip de Doug Ford hablando sobre cómo los republicanos le tienen miedo a Donald Trump. Ford dice que en privado le dicen que odian los aranceles, pero que tienen miedo a enfrentarse a Donald Trump, pues pueden perder su cargo. Esto la verdad es muy patético. Mira por favor.
Republican senators or governors told you that they, to Brian's point, that they liked the ad. I mean, we know the Democrats liked the ad.
Yeah, absolutely, they liked it.
But any Republicans privately telling you?
No, I haven't talked to them, but I'll tell you what they have told me. They totally disagree with the president. All 3 levels. I talked to senators, congresspeople, and governors. They all told me they totally disagree. But they're too scared of President Trump. When was the last time a Republican governor was scared of a Republican president? They're scared of ramifications. which is really, really sad.
Pero al menos hubo 4 republicanos que votaron a favor de los demócratas en el Senado de los Estados Unidos. Todo esto a favor de cancelar los aranceles en contra de Canadá. Es más un gesto simbólico porque la Cámara de Representantes, este otro gran órgano legislativo en Estados Unidos, del cual Mike Johnson es el presidente, y este básicamente puso una legislación para que Donald Trump tuviera poder sobre toda esta Cámara y básicamente pudiera hacer y deshacer lo que él quiera con los aranceles. Básicamente Donald Trump ahora puede declarar cualquier emergencia falsa que él quiera y la Cámara no puede hacer absolutamente nada. Qué gran trabajo hiciste, Mike Johnson. Por cierto, Mike Johnson ha enviado a los republicanos MAGA de vacaciones por el cierre de gobierno. Les dijo, no se presenten en Washington DC, no hablen con demócratas y por favor, mucho menos negocien con demócratas. Así que tampoco se presenten en las asambleas públicas y tienen que esconderse sí o sí de sus electores. Por cierto, aquí está la votación que tuvo lugar en el Senado de los Estados Unidos, donde en el Senado, aparte de los demócratas, 4 republicanos votaron en contra de los aranceles que Estados Unidos está imponiendo contra Canadá. Mira lo que ocurrió en este clip, por favor.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 46. The joint resolution is passed.
Aquí está el economista ganador del premio Nobel, Paul Krugman. Miren por favor el clip.
It's really important to understand that no way under either domestic U.S. law or under international agreements does the United States have the right to impose a tariff on Canada because a provincial government ran an ad that made Donald Trump feel bad. I mean, it's infantile, but it's also clearly illegal on multiple dimensions.
Aquí está el último informe de Charlie Angus, el líder de la resistencia. Él habla sobre el gran trabajo de David Ely. Miren el clip, por favor.
In the fight against Donald Trump, British Columbia has held the line from the beginning. Under the leadership of Premier David Eby, there's been such a strong, consistent, coherent line. It's not like the attention grabbing that Doug Ford gets in Doug Ford's recent ads that has sent Donald Trump off the deep end and caused all kinds of splits in the United States as people are saying to Donald Trump, why are you continuing to fight with Canada? Well, we know why Donald Trump's continuing to fight with Canada. It's the same as those plunderers who came over in the 1850s to take our resources, to take our land, to say that the border doesn't exist. But throughout it, the government of British Columbia has been solid from the get-go. They banned all American wine and beer sales in the province. David Eby told Donald Trump, you can keep your watery beer. The effect of that boycott has been extraordinary. We've seen an 85% drop in American spirit sales to Canada, a 97% drop in wine exports. Canada has basically wiped out the market for the United States spirits and wine industry. We've wiped it out. That's because of the strong leadership in the province here in British Columbia and other provinces. Now, we're looking also in British Columbia with increasing the trade to China. British Columbia is a trading province. The port of Vancouver is the busiest. We've seen an increase in trade shipments into the port of 13% in the first 6 months of this year. You're going to see it increase much higher as we start to open more of our trade negotiations with Singapore, Korea, China, as we move away from the United States.
Charlie Angus también habló de este anuncio de Ronald Reagan y de los aranceles impuestos por Donald Trump. Miren, por favor.
Hoekstra, Charlie Angus here. It's a pretty foggy day here in Northern Ontario. Now, I bet you're thinking that that's because of all the fog of disinformation that's being pumped out of the U.S. ambassador's residence in Ottawa. But if you feel it in the air, Pete, no, this is just the frigid feeling of the North as our winds start to blow down on you, because we're kind of done with you. Now, I just want to follow up with you, Pete, on a couple of things you've been saying recently on this tariff fight. You know, we were being led to believe by you that Donald Trump was all ready to sign a trade agreement with Canada, and we had worked out everything, you know, aluminum and steel and all our problems, and it was all going to be done by American Thanksgiving. And Canada had an ad that just quoted Ronald Reagan in the World Series, and your president lost his shit, and now he's saying there's never going to be a trade agreement. He's not going to talk to Canada again, and you come out and accuse us of foreign interference. That's quite the charge, Pete. Now, I'm a polite Canadian, so I don't want to say that you're a liar. But Pete, Your track record speaks for itself. You lied about weapons of mass destruction and got called out. You lied about American author being tied to Islamic terrorism, and the Washington Post gave you the 4 Pinocchios Award for ultimate lying. You lied, Pete, when you were the ambassador to the Netherlands about Muslim violence in the Netherlands, and the people of the Netherlands called you out, and then you lied about them and said it was all fake news, and then you had to apologize to them. How the hell did you get hired, Pete, to be the ambassador of what was America's #1 trading partner, America's #1 ally? But let's face it, Pete, we know Canada's not the America's #1 ally anymore. Vladimir Putin is.
Charlie Angus también habló de Canadá reconsiderando su relación comercial con China. Miren, por favor.
Significant that recently that Prime Minister Carney talked about the trade risks in our relationship with the United States and our need to manage that relationship. And he basically said that it was similar to the risks that we face with China. That's an extraordinary thing to say, because we just remember just a few years ago when the United States pushed Canada to arrest Meng Wanzhou, the head of Huawei, because the Americans were fighting with China over the control of the digital space and wanted Huawei out of the market. And Canada agreed to arrest Meng Wanzhou for extradition to the United States. China retaliated heavily. They arrested and imprisoned 2 Canadians, the 2 Michaels, held them in custody for way too long. There was a huge public outcry that resulted in a backlash in Canada against Chinese imports, against the Chinese government. China has a pretty dubious track record in terms of human rights, their interference politically in Canada. And when we took Meng Wanzhou into custody, the Americans left us high and dry. We were on our own. They didn't come to our aid, even though we were helping them. But right now, Canada is reconsidering that relationship with China. Why? Because we can no longer trust the United States. And we know that we have maybe 150, maybe more Canadians in custody at ICE detention centers without the rule of law. Well, we had 2 Canadians under Chinese custody, and it caused a huge outcry. We have now over 150 in the United States. So when the Prime Minister's talking about us needing to rethink our trade relationships and our strategic relationships, the fact that we're now willing to entertain relations with the authoritarian government in Beijing shows that we can no longer maintain those relationships with the United States.
Y para finalizar, Charlie Angus habló de cómo Donald Trump publicó videos generados con inteligencia artificial de él enviando excremento a manifestantes pacíficos. Y lo hizo de una forma en la que solo Charlie Angus podía explicarlo. Miren, por favor.
Town halls across Canada. I'm seeing such a determination. And it started off, I think people were defensive. They were freaking out. It's like, what are we going to do? These guys are coming up for us. And now people are saying, we're done with them. You know, we saw the absolute collapse of the American spirit market, the wine industry disintegrating 97%. That shows what people power can do. But the upside is I was just talking to a winery in Ontario selling Ontario wines into Norway for the first time. We're taking advantage of this. What's really concerning to Canadians is the disintegration of the rule of law south of the border. The disrespect Donald Trump shows, not just for us, but for his own people. And, I did a Canadian interview today, and they said, well, don't you think it's very un-Canadian that we interfered in their country, blah, 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 clutching the pearls? I said, this is a guy who showed an AI video of him dumping diarrhea on his own citizens. This man is not worthy of any office in any land. So the fact that he's freaked out that we showed a video that just had Ronald Reagan speaking shows that he's not trustworthy. People are not going to be expecting him to live up to his word, and it's forcing all nations, whether they wanted to or not, to look elsewhere. And so Canada's looking elsewhere.
Esto fue lo que dijo Mark Carney en la convención del ASEAN. Le preguntaron si él creía que Estados Unidos realmente quería negociar con Canadá, o si solo Donald Trump iba a buscar una u otra excusa. Miren la respuesta, por favor.
Prime Minister, given everything that we've seen, do you really think the United States is interested in making a trade deal with Canada?
Look, we are their second largest trading partner. We provide a series of essential goods for their economy. We are one of many providers, but we provide in some areas essential goods for their economy. And we create more room for them to do other things. I'll give you an example. If you look at Canadian exports of aluminum to the United States, and aluminum is bauxite and energy. I mean, there's a little more to it, but you can simplify it to that. The embedded energy in the Canadian aluminum exports, which provides 60% of the aluminum to the U.S. market, is the equivalent of the energy of 10 Hoover dams in the United States. Now, is the best use of that scale of energy, creating that scale of energy to make aluminum in the United States, as opposed to continue to foster and power the AI revolution, which the U.S. is leading, or power homes and others? I mean, these are decisions for the United States to make. Point being, as a supplier to the United States, and I gave aluminum as one, I could give many examples, we are an important supplier in many areas. As well, we are a large customer. For over 30 states, Canada is the largest export customer for those states in the United States. So there is a very strong, deep trading relationship, and there is an alignment of interests in many areas. And that's the reason why we have elements of the arrangements that we have today with a large degree of low tariff trade and the benefits from that. We're ready to have those discussions to further improve them, and we'll have them when it's appropriate. But we're not resting, because we can build. The return on building at home is far greater than the hit from trade turbulence with the United States, and the opportunities internationally are considerable. And candidly, Canada has not focused on the relationships to the same extent as we should have in any trading environment with the United States, let alone a situation where they're changing their trade policy. And that's what we're doing now.
Ahí lo tienen, amigos. Este fue el video de hoy día. Si les gustó, les agradecería de todo corazón que se suscriban al canal. No olviden que si este video creen que les pueda servir a alguien más, también les agradecería de todo corazón que se lo compartan a cualquier persona que ustedes consideren importante. Sin nada más que decir, nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.